Why is it that the one moment I let myself feel happy, the world tries to take it away? That's what Claire Dawson whispered into the darkness of her living room the night the headlines exploded her photo plastered next to the words, "Billionaire's New Flame." She hadn't asked for this. She didn't sign up to be anyone's story, let alone a public scandal in heels she couldn't afford. Just days before, she was a nurse in scrubs, patching up patients and scraping together rent. Now she was being hunted by cameras, judged by strangers, and haunted by a question that stabbed deeper than any headline. Was it all real, or just another game played by the rich? She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. But most of all, she wanted to believe. Believe that Logan Whitaker wasn't like the others. That what happened in the park at dinner and in the way he looked at her wasn't some illusion. But stay with us, because what happens next will shake the foundation of everything Claire thought she knew. And when fate throws a devastating twist into her path, she'll have to decide: run from the pain or fight for love that finally feels real. You won't see this coming. The late afternoon sun cast golden rays over Riverside Park, filtering through the leaves like 1,000 flickering lights. Claire Dawson, 28, had just finished a grueling 12-hour shift at St. Grace Memorial Hospital. Her scrubs clung to her skin, her feet throbbed inside her sneakers, and her mind was foggy with exhaustion. All she wanted was to walk home, microwave something half-edible, and collapse into bed. But then she heard it. A quiet sob, barely audible over the chatter of joggers and distant barking dogs. She stopped. It came again. Raw, guttural, a sound that didn't belong to this peaceful afternoon. Claire turned and followed the sound to the back of a wide oak tree. There, crouched beside a rusted red bicycle, was a little boy, maybe 8 years old, tears streaking down his dirt-smudged cheeks. The bike looked like it had been through a war. The chain hung limp, the handlebars were twisted, and one tire was nearly flat. Claire knelt slowly, ignoring the dirt staining her white scrubs. "Hey there," she said gently. "Are you hurt?" The boy wiped his face with his sleeve. "No, ma'am. It's just, my bike's broken. It was my big brother's, before he went to heaven." Claire's heart dropped, and now the boy added with a sniffle, "I don't know how I'll get home. It's 20 blocks and my grandma can't come get me." "What's your name?" she asked softly. Ethan Brooks." She smiled. "Nice to meet you, Ethan. I'm Claire, and I think we can fix this. Or at least try." He looked at her as if she'd just handed him a second chance. What Claire didn't know was that parked just across the road in a sleek black Mercedes, Logan Whitaker, the elusive billionaire behind Whitaker Holdings, was watching them through tinted windows. He had come to the park to escape yet another suffocating boardroom call, seeking a sliver of normalcy. But what he found instead was something far rarer: genuine kindness. A woman who didn't know she was being observed. A woman who kneeled beside a child she didn't know, offering help without hesitation. Something in his chest stirred. Claire inspected the bike. "We'll need a chain replacement, some tools, and probably a new tire. Is there a shop nearby?" "Yeah," Ethan said, "but it's far. I can walk. I always walk." Claire hesitated. 20 blocks. He was just a kid, and she couldn't bear the thought of him walking that far with this broken wreck of metal and memory. "Okay," she said. "What if we go together to the shop? I'll help you explain the repairs." Ethan looked down, ashamed. "I don't have any money. Grandma says this month we barely got enough for food." Claire's heart clenched, but she didn't hesitate. "Don't worry about the money," she said. "We'll figure it out." What neither of them noticed was the man approaching them, immaculately dressed, calm, unreadable. "Excuse me," Logan said softly. Claire turned instantly wary. The man was tall, sharp-featured, wearing a suit that screamed expensive, but his voice was careful, his expression open, not threatening. "Are you two okay?" he asked, nodding to the damaged bike. Claire replied cautiously, "We're fine. Just trying to get this bike to a shop." Logan glanced at Ethan. "I know 1-2 blocks from here. It's the best in the city." "That'd be amazing," Ethan chirped, suddenly full of hope. "Right," Claire hesitated. "Who was this man? And why did he care?" "Sure," she said, watching him closely. "But we'll walk it." "You don't have to," Logan offered. "I can drive you both. My car's just there." Ethan's eyes widened at the mention of the black car. Claire's instincts bristled. "I'm sorry," she said. I don't normally get into strangers' cars. Logan paused, then smiled. That's smart. I'm Logan, just Logan. No tricks, no hidden motives. Just someone who saw something beautiful, a woman helping a kid she didn't know. Claire studied him for a beat. Her gut told her this man wasn't a danger, but still her mind whispered, be careful, be smart. Then out of nowhere, an elderly man jogging nearby stumbled and collapsed on the path. Without thinking, Claire bolted. Sir, can you hear me? She asked, kneeling beside him. Logan and Ethan stood frozen watching as she assessed his pulse, tilted his head, and began administering first aid with the kind of precision only a trained professional could pull off. A few tense moments later, the man groaned. He was okay. A woman ran over. He has low blood sugar. Thank you so much. Claire stood brushing herself off, only now realizing her knees were scraped and stained. When she turned back to Logan and Ethan, both were staring at her like she'd just saved the world. You really are something else, Logan muttered. What? Claire frowned. Nothing, he said, smiling. Let's get that bike fixed. Minutes later, they arrived at the bike shop. The mechanic's eyes narrowed when he saw Ethan. Kid still owes for the last patch-up, he grumbled. Ethan's face fell. Claire stepped forward. How much, she asked quietly. $50. Claire hesitated for a heartbeat, then pulled out her wallet. She only had $80 left till payday. She handed him the $50 without blinking. Let's get it done. Behind her, Logan watched carefully. She hadn't asked anyone else to pay. She hadn't hesitated. She didn't even know the kid. And yet she was giving her last dime to make sure he didn't feel abandoned. For the first time in years, Logan felt small, humbled, moved. As the mechanic began work, Ethan chattered excitedly to Claire. Logan stood to the side, eyes never leaving her. This woman, this total stranger, was doing more good in 1 hour than most of his charity foundations did in a year. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he didn't want to leave. That moment, that bike, that boy had just changed everything. But Claire didn't know that yet, because this was only the beginning. Thank you so much for watching this first part of Claire and Logan's story. We're sorry for interrupting here, but we want to ask you, would you have trusted Logan if you were Claire in that moment, yes or no? If you've enjoyed the story so far, please give us a like and drop a heart below, and it only gets more intense from here. For Claire Dawson, that moment had come quietly with oil-stained fingers, a scraped knee, and the broken smile of a boy who finally got to ride again. But for Logan Whitaker, it had struck like thunder, shaking loose everything he thought he knew about people, purpose, and what it meant to feel alive. 3 days had passed since that afternoon in Riverside Park, and Logan hadn't been able to shake Claire from his thoughts. Not her voice, her calm urgency when she saved the collapsed runner. Not the way she handed over her last $50 for a child she didn't know. Not the way she looked at him, not with awe, not with suspicion, but as if he were just a man, no more, no less. And that was terrifying. In his 40-story corner office overlooking Boston, Logan stared through the glass, his phone untouched beside him. He had meetings lined up with Japanese investors, an international real estate proposal on his desk, and emails flagged urgent in bold red. But none of it mattered. He picked up the phone. Nathan, cancel my next 2 meetings. Sir, the Tokyo delegation is already downstairs. Then escort them back out politely. A beat of stunned silence. Yes, Mr. Whitaker. Logan hung up, reached into his drawer and pulled out the small slip of paper where he'd scribbled Claire Dawson's name. She hadn't given him her number that day, but Ethan had. I told Grandma about you, Ethan had whispered shyly while strapping on his new helmet, and she says angels don't ask for thanks. But I said you weren't an angel. You were Claire. Logan had smiled, and then he had driven to Ethan's apartment block the next morning, bringing food and groceries not as a billionaire, but as a man who needed to understand why that woman lingered in his chest like a storm that refused to leave. And now, phone in hand, he dialed the number Ethan's grandmother had quietly offered him. The line clicked. Hello, Claire. It's Logan from the park. The bike? A pause. Then, how did you get this number? I went to see Ethan. I wanted to make sure he was okay. Silence again. A longer one. Is he? Yes. But I think I was really calling to ask if you're okay. Claire sat frozen in her tiny apartment kitchen, still in her scrubs, eyes locked on the microwave as it rotated a bowl of lukewarm soup. She wasn't okay. She hadn't been okay in years, but something in Logan's voice, raw, searching, made her stomach tighten. "I'm fine," she lied. "Can I ask you something?" Another pause, "I suppose. Why do you help people you don't know?" Claire's eyes burned. A part of her wanted to hang up. Another part, deeper and more tired, wanted to answer. "Because once a stranger helped me. When I was a scared kid watching my sister fight for her life in a hospital hallway, a nurse named Susan Blake handed me a sandwich and let me sleep in a chair. She didn't know me. She just saw a kid who needed a little kindness. I never forgot that." On the other end, Logan said nothing, but she could hear him breathing. "And my sister's alive," she added softly. "Studying engineering now, because people gave when they didn't have to." "Like you," no, Claire whispered. "Better." Logan swallowed. "You're remarkable." She gave a sad laugh. "I'm tired, that's all. Then let me take you to dinner." The silence that followed was not uncertain but afraid. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Why not?" "Because I take the bus to work. Because my idea of a fancy night is pizza on the balcony. Because whatever world you come from, it's not mine." And yet Logan said softly, "Your world is the only one that's felt real to me in years." Claire's breath caught. "Just dinner," he said. "Somewhere simple. Nothing extravagant. Let me know who you are. And maybe let me figure out who I am too." 2 days later, Logan stood outside Claire's building in jeans and a button-down, no suit, no driver, no security detail. When she stepped out in a simple navy dress and a thrifted denim jacket, he forgot how to breathe. At Nonna Rosa's Italian bistro, tucked into a quiet street near the edge of the city, they shared breadsticks and nervous smiles. For an hour, they swapped stories, Claire about her patience and long nights on call, Logan about his years at boarding school, the silence in his marble-floored mansion, the fiancé who used his name like a currency. "Have you ever loved someone?" Claire asked, not quite meeting his gaze. "I thought I did," Logan admitted, "but it was a love that looked good in photographs, not in real life." She nodded. "I've never had time for love. Bills come first, then sleep." And now Claire stared into her glass of water. "Now I'm sitting across from someone who confuses me. Because you don't act like a billionaire. Maybe I'm tired of being one." That night he walked her back to her door. "Thank you," she said, her voice low. "For what?" "For making me feel like I wasn't just a nurse in scrubs tonight." "You weren't," Logan replied. "You were the only woman I saw in the room." She smiled. And just as she turned to unlock her door, her phone buzzed an alert from a news app she forgot she'd installed. Logan Whitaker spotted with mystery woman outside Nonna Rosa's, a blurry photo. His car, her face. She stared at it, blood draining. "What's wrong?" he asked, noticing her pale. Claire looked at him. "I thought... You said simple. I meant it. I didn't call anyone." She hesitated. "This can't be my life, Logan. I'm not built for this." And before he could reply, she stepped inside and closed the door. But what she didn't know was that her life had already changed. Thank you for watching this next chapter in Claire and Logan's journey. We know it's hard to pause here, but let us ask you, would you have walked away or stayed to fight for something that felt real? If you're enjoying this story, please leave a like and drop a heart to let us know you're with us. And the storm is just beginning. The silence after the slammed door was louder than any goodbye. Claire stood in her tiny living room staring at the headline glowing on her phone screen. Logan Whitaker seen with mystery woman, is this the billionaire's new love? She felt a chill wash over her. This wasn't a romance, it was a spotlight, and she'd spent her whole life hiding from anything that made her feel exposed. Outside, Logan stood motionless. He could have called after her, could have knocked again, but he didn't. Because for the first time in years, he understood that love, real love, sometimes meant knowing when to give someone space to breathe. What neither of them realized was that life wouldn't give them that space for long. 2 mornings later, Claire raced down the ER corridor at St. Grace Memorial Hospital. The voice crackled through the intercom, incoming trauma mail, mid-30s MVA, head trauma, chest injuries, ETA 2 minutes. When the ambulance doors burst open and she saw the blood, The mangled shirt, the familiar watch on the limp wrist, her lungs forgot how to work. "Logan." "No, no, no, no," she whispered, stumbling forward. The paramedic didn't need to say anything. The look on Claire's face said it all. They let her take the lead. She snapped on gloves, checked vitals, called out orders. With a sharpness that came from fear, not training, he was alive, but barely. Hours later, after surgery, after scans and quiet prayers, whispered in sterile rooms, Logan lay unconscious, bandaged and pale. Claire sat beside him, hands shaking. And when Margaret Whitaker, his formidable mother, walked in, wearing heels too expensive for a hospital floor, Claire didn't flinch. "You're the nurse," Margaret said, her voice clipped. "I'm Claire," she replied. "And yes, I'm also the one your son wouldn't stop talking about." Margaret studied her with eyes trained to detect weakness, but she found none. "He said you were strong," she murmured. "I thought he was being sentimental." Claire didn't smile. "He nearly died. Now isn't the time for judgment." To her surprise, Margaret sat down. Her tone shifted just slightly. "No, it's the time to figure out what really matters." And for once they agreed. That night when Logan finally stirred, blinking groggily under fluorescent lights, Claire was the first thing he saw. He winced. "Still here, still here." "Wasn't sure you would be," he whispered. "You scared the hell out of me, Logan. I scared myself." They sat in silence for a moment, his fingers brushing hers. "I never wanted you to be pulled into my world like this," he said. "But when I thought I might not wake up, all I wanted was you." Claire's throat tightened. "Then stop hiding from your world, and let me choose whether I want to be part of it." He looked at her, really looked at her, as if weighing whether this was a dream he could afford to believe in. "I'm not good at this," he said. "Neither am I." "But I love you," he added. "That I know." Claire didn't hesitate. "I love you too." 3 weeks later, Claire walked through the lobby of Whitaker Holdings, no longer just the mystery woman from the tabloids, but the one invited to speak at a press event beside Logan. They weren't there to announce a wedding. They were there to announce a foundation, the Claire Dawson Foundation. Logan said, standing proudly at the podium beside her, is committed to supporting families who, like Ethan Brooks and his grandmother, fall through the cracks of our systems. And it was created because I met a woman who taught me that true wealth isn't measured in profit, but in people. Reporters flashed photos. Claire took a breath. She stepped forward and said, "I'm not here because I fell in love with a billionaire. I'm here because someone gave me a voice and now I want to use it for those who haven't been heard." And just like that, the spotlight didn't feel so heavy anymore. That evening, Logan took her back to Riverside Park, to the very tree where it all began. A breeze stirred the leaves as the sun dipped below the skyline. "You ready for one more surprise?" he asked. "Do I need to sit down for it?" He laughed. "Maybe." He reached into his coat and pulled out a small velvet box. Claire's breath caught. "No big speech," Logan said. "Just a question." He opened the box. "Will you build this life with me? Not the one the world expects, but the one we choose one day at a time?" Tears shimmered in her eyes. Yes. 100 times yes. And when he slipped the ring on her finger, neither of them cared about the world watching, because they were no longer afraid of the story they were writing. It was theirs now. Not perfect, but real and beautiful. Just like the woman who once stopped for a boy and his broken bicycle and changed everything. Now let's pause here for just a moment. What would you have done if you were Claire? Would you have risked it all for love, or walked away from the spotlight? And what about Logan? Do you believe people like him can truly change? We'd love to know what you think of this story. If it moved you or stayed with you in any way, please comment number 3 below. Comment number 1 if it wasn't quite your taste, or number 2 if it felt just okay. Also, let us know what country are you watching from today. And if you enjoyed this journey, please like, heart, and share this video with someone who believes that love can change the world.